In 2000, you met Shauna Gar. Can you take us back to your documentary and how that came about?
Uh, yeah. I was I met Shauna Gar. I met her actually when I was living on the hill when I had my Tommy Boy, my Fat House Records, my joint venture deal, and she wanted to make a movie on me. Then she was like, "Is this your house?" And I had all this stuff. And I'm like, "Yeah." And I was like 22 or something, and she was like, "Oh my God, I want to do a movie on it." I was like, "Nah." And I stayed in contact with her. She asked me one day about, "What do you think of these guys, Redman and Method Man?" I was like, "The niggas are dope." Because she was like, I met the guy, and she hadn't even really listened. So I put her up on it. She was like, "You think I should manage him?" I said, "Hell yeah." So she was managing Meth, and I lost my studio, and in 2003, I lost my studio because I had a drug addiction. I was, you know, my dad had died, and I had my son right after, and it's like in the 2000s, it was like that's when like Pharrell and like Timberland and all these other cats were starting to, and the industry was telling me, "Look, man, your style is played. Ain't nobody's feeling that kind of shit no more, man. You gotta be like this nigga. You gotta be like Dre. No, I'm not Dr. Dre. I'm not Dr. J. I'm Jay Swift. I'm just not." So that coupled, it was like a perfect storm. Then my mother, the real one that broke me, it was my mom almost died in a head-on collision at 1 in the afternoon. Driving, my mom didn't have to work to clean offices and stuff like that no more. But she liked to do that. She had the same kind of thing with my dad. She liked her having her little car. She liked it. She didn't really, she's a proud woman. She's still alive and stuff. I love her. And she was driving to work, and some young 19-year-old crossed the lane on Jefferson and crashed into my mom. She was on life support. Both her lungs were punctured. Both her ankles were broken. I hadn't reconciled and come to terms with my father dying. My father was like my best friend. He was the greatest musician I ever seen in my life, ever. Like, it was amazing. It was part of me was angry with his band and how they were just doing them shady. Like, it would kind of, and he always would tell me, "Be careful, because the storm is coming. You will get hated on." And so my mom, so then when that happened, I just was like, it's like, I could not feel, I didn't want to, if I was sober, I was crying, I was a mess. And I was like, part of me was like, I feel like I gotta get out of this. But I really felt like even suicidal. And I was like, well, I'm too much of a coward. Because what if I blow my head, nigga, and then I make it through this? So then I just said, fuck it, I'll blow on a pipe. You know what I mean? So then Shauna, I was in the streets. I called her one day. And she was like, "Oh, my God." Because I had went over her house like, I don't know, 8 months before that. And she was like, I don't know, she was arguing with her boyfriend. But she was like, "Get away from my house, you crackhead." And so I didn't talk to her for 8 months. One day I called her, she said, "Oh my God." She apologized for that. And I was like, it is what it is. She was like, what can I do? What are you doing? And I was like, "Can I borrow $20? She's like, "For what?" I said, "For some dope." "Where do you live?" "On Ivar in Hollywood." Now, this was not a house. I literally lived on Ivar in Hollywood, on the street, under a tree. So she comes over with her Hummer and stuff, and her daughter was there, and her daughter and my son, they were born almost the same time. So that she was like, "Oh my God, what are you doing under that tree?" I was like, "I live here. Come on in." So I jumped in her car, and she was like, "Are you still doing music?" And I was, because I never in my wildest dreams thought I would be, spun out, addicted, and having a hustle in the streets, and I was with some chicks. You know how it is, just the whole. The money that I would get from the street hustle, I'll leave it at that, I would go to my boy in the studio over here on Franklin Boulevard. Damn, I can't remember this guy's name. such a long time ago. Anyway, but I would pay this guy, this engineer, and he would let me record a couple of hours. So I had a CD of these songs. So she was like, what? Wait a minute. This is awesome. And you live there? And oh, I'm coming back tomorrow at 6 in the morning with a cameraman. I said, all right. That morning I got arrested. Then I was in jail, and the cop comes and he says, hey man, there's some TV producer chick that's here. She's bailing you out. And then I got bailed out, and I remember that she, you know, VH1, they picked me up in like 2 Suburbans, like, you know, like, what are you about to do? Like, I'm about to go get some dope. And then I'm going to the studio. And so what happened is, you know, they're filming me and all this, and it was really like, it got to the point like the producers, because VH1 was involved in the beginning, and they would be like, smoke here or smoke there, and I would be like, it was really taking its toll. I was like, this is how you die, you know what I'm saying? And so she just, you know, it collapsed because she didn't, and I didn't feel good about, you know, the exploitation factor. So then she decided she got funding. She ended her deal with them, got different funding, and decided we're going to document this, how you can just get, how this reality shit is like, it's like a blurred line. It's not. It's real, but is it? Because if you're telling me to smoke, I remember one time we were filming and this producer chick was like, can you just take a couple of more hits so we can get some shots? And I was out of drugs. So it was just like for the image. And I was like, and I told the lady, look, if I do this, if I pull this again, I'm going to go on a run. But she didn't care. And so, you know, I got it out of my system. It was a dark time, but I'm not ashamed of it, because this is what matters. If you can beat that dark place, then you can do anything. Because I remember sometimes I was like, am I ever going to be able to get off this? And I would be in the streets and people were like, man, I can't get off this. And one day I just was like, no, get it. Like, I had a moment of clarity in jail, and I was like, I'm done. I really started understanding and reading. I started reading the scripture, and people think like, oh, you just went holy. No, it's just the facts are, I had to take a moment. God took me out of that area and gave me the chance to just ask myself, what do you want? I wanted my children. I still believed that I could do it. You know what I'm saying? I remember she brought over, she took me Detail, the producer, you know what I'm saying? Ray J and all that. He was a fan, and you know, I love that guy. He was cool. I was in the Salvation Army in rehab, and they wanted to see if I could write a song without any kind of like weed or nothing. So they took me to the studio to meet this cat Detail, and he played this beat, and I was like, wow, I got to get some shit off my chest to this. That's the hook. That's what he told me. So I took the beat, and I was working the front door at the Salvation Army in Skid Row at the desk. I wrote my rhyme, and that song, like, I really poured out my heart and soul to that song. And that was a pivotal point. You know, I was so glad. The nigga, look, man, this guy, you know, he's a multi-platinum nigga, man. And the nigga was like, I'll give you J Swift, nigga. You know what he charged me, my nigga?
How much?
Nigga, $500, nigga.
Wow.
And he couldn't charge me. He just was like, don't even trip, my nigga. You know, and I'm like, wow. See, he's an emblematic of, his style is different than mine. I don't produce like he does. He produced that song. He had me rhyming in different ways, whispering, doing rhymes and whispering tracks under it, like things that I don't do. But he was just concerned with, I want to do this with you, my nigga, because I grew up on your shit. And that's all that matters. You want to shoot me something, then shoot me something. I was like, well, this is what I got. I mean, so shout out to Detail, my nigga. Like, the nigga, he's a real nigga, man.
Right.
You know, I've been blessed. I've been blessed to music saved my life. Even when I was in the streets, I always had a pen and a pad. If I hear songs, I remember one time I was walking down the street. This is like when computers were like, niggas was like, laptop. It was raining and shit. I was walking down Hollywood Boulevard. And there's a TV, electronics shop. And I look over, and it's Dr. Dre on a fucking airplane making beats on a laptop. I said, oh, shit. I gotta get that. I gotta do it. I mean, those were these moments where I was like, and I'll hear, I can't stop my mind. When I hear music, I'll just be listening because I'll just be, you know, digging in the crates. And even if I'm just out with someone, we'll be chilling. And little do you know, I already looped something. Like, it just don't stop. You know what I'm saying? So my God and my children and my music saved my life. So
Thank God. You talked about, you know, your kind of disagreements with the Pharcyde, but you eventually got with Fatlip in 2010. Did you guys talk throughout the years, and what led up to you working with Fatlip on his solo debut album?
The Loneliest Punk. Yeah. Well, yeah, I talked with him over the years. He went through this phase for like, I don't know, close to 10 years. And he was like, I'm producing. And I would go and I'd see him, and Mike Ross was, you know, bankrolling him. And he was, look, everybody, like I say, you can make this. You can, it doesn't have to be complex. He was making some good stuff, but he was learning. There was things, I'm so way ahead of that nigga that I couldn't get involved. I would just check it out. And like, he did What's Up, Fatlip. He did that all by himself and stuff. And after like 7, 8 years, Mike Ross was like, look, I can't have this. Jay, you got to help me, man. You got to, man. So I said, all right, man, I'm cool with Fatlip. You know, I'm still cool with him and shit. And said, all right, I'll go ahead. So I took, you know, the vocals. I took the songs that they just were not up to par. And I just flipped them. And so I did, you know, Writer's Block, The Story of Us, you know, and plus, you know, at that time it was like, look, that's respectable. Because I'm not going to sit here and say what's going to do what, because, you know, I respect those songs that I did. I respect the shit that I did with Buck. It's just not my type of shit. So yeah, I just, you know, I remember one day he told me, he was like, he met Dre and he was like, he had the secret of how the beats. I know what it is. What's the secret, man? And he's like, stacking snares. Nigga, I stacked 7 snares, nigga. And he said this shit to Dr. Dre, and Dr. Dre was like, because Dr. Dre, you know, people love Fatlip. This nigga's a genius. He's a fucking genius, man. But after that, he said, dude, I'm not a producer, dude. Jay. I'm not a producer, dude. No, I'm serious. I'm not a producer. I was like, finally, nigga. So, you know, it is what it is.
At what point did you guys start getting back in the loop of things? You went on tour with Fatlip and Trey on one half of the Pharcyde. What kind of talks did you guys get for you to get back with that part of the group, and how did you feel about it being 2 different groups going on their separate tours?
Oh, okay. Well, that was, yes, a tale of 2 Pharcydes, right? Here's what happened. On 2012, I was working on, I had, I don't know, 4 or 5 songs for my album, Negro Knievel. Like, it was a work in progress. Like, that album took me a long time to finish. But at that time, I wanted to put out High When I'm Sober. So I asked Mike Ross, and we distributed it, and he said, yeah, and we put it out on my father's birthday, January 16th. And I went to his office and I said, yo, it's the 20th anniversary of the band. He was like, yeah. And I was like, well, what are you going to do? He was like, well, I'm thinking of putting out a box set. I was like, nigga, what's up with a tour? He was like, a tour? These guys aren't even down. Imani and Romai and Fatlip and Trey and them, it was like, and it was a lot of chaos with them between themselves. But I said, look, we can do a show. I can do Rock the Keys. I can get in touch with Fatlip. I know the spots. You know what I'm saying? I know the spots, you know. Trey is in Portland. You can contact Trey. He was like, well, then who would do the parts? I said, I could do Romai's parts. We just wanted to just do a show just to celebrate it. And then he was like, well, who would do Imani? I was like, I got the nigga, K-Natural, you know. He's from our crew. We all grew up together. So, yeah, this nigga. So he said, all right, let's set up a rehearsal. And rehearsals online, too, and stuff. And when we did the rehearsal, we knew, like, this is dope. So then we did the show at the Roxy. And it was, like, got rave reviews. And, like, you know, they were like, nigga, you see rappers 20 years later, nigga, they be all fat and shit. These niggas were like, who is the nigga in charge over here? You know, like, we just, like they were like, niggas, like, we were in, like, a time capsule or something. So then Mike and Delicious was like, let's put this show on the road, Bizarre Ride to the Pharcyde Live. Romai and Imani decided to file an injunction preventing us from using the name The Pharcyde. So then we had to be Bizarre Ride, but we can perform Bizarre to the Pharcyde Live. Never on tour where we like, don't go to the, we're like, yo, man, they would interview us, look, the Pharcyde, yeah, man, they got their thing going, it's cool. We Bizarre Ride. The plan was to do an album, Bizarre Ride 1, but that never happened.